Welcome back to some new r/malicious compliance stories, where people comply to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. Thanks for all the likes and comments on the last video. And now, let's start with the first story. It's called Talk to the Boss. About 14 years ago, I was working IT for a large medical center, one of several owned by the same people. The regional CIO personally put me in charge of setting up and issuing laptops to doctors and other medical staff to go to patients' homes when they could no longer come to the hospital for any number of reasons. When we got a new shop supervisor, who was only promoted to that position exactly 1 year to the day after being hired from the outside, something that left myself and a lot of other IT techs very upset, he made it abundantly clear that he was going to make several people's lives miserable, including me. He'd look at my Outlook calendar. We all had to share access to our calendar with him to see when I had someone scheduled to pick up a laptop, do their 3-month software update, etc. Then, a few minutes before the person was supposed to arrive, he would order me to do some menial project halfway across the hospital that he could have just as easily done himself or delegated to one of the new people. If I tried to tell him that I had an appointment, he threatened to write me up for insubordination. One day, the regional CIO was due for his 3-month update. Right on cue, the shop sub tasked me with unboxing, then installing monitors on the first floor. About 15 minutes later, when the regional CIO arrived, he called to ask that I return to the office. I headed back up right away. The shop sub didn't know and never met the regional CIO, so he had no clue who he was dealing with. When I arrived, the CIO asked the shop sub to leave the room. He asked me what was going on, since I was always punctual and thorough to a fault. I told him about the shop sub making several of the lives of anyone he disliked miserable, with reassigning trouble tickets in multiple random floors at the last second, just as they had projects scheduled, or in my case, as I had appointments close to arriving for the laptops. The CIO even asked why the shop sub always seemed to be out of the office. Most times the director came up and could never get him on the phone. I just told the truth. He's been much too busy chasing skirts and shooting the breeze with his friends, sir. When the CIO asked if the shop sub had a girlfriend on the side, my response was, "Which one? He has us too busy running around to count them." He told me to wait outside the office for a few minutes and brought the shop sub back in to have a come to Jesus moment with him. The shop sub was put on 90 days unpaid suspension and was written up for gross insubordination for talking back to him, among other things. The CIO even asked HR to start an investigation to see what other department regulations he violated. The next story is called Ahead of Time. Almost 10 years ago, I worked at a company where my department analyzed survey and secondary data, compiling it into handbooks each quarter. After 6 months of joining the department, my manager, who joined us 2 months after me, reorganized our tasks in an attempt to improve our efficiency. This manager was promoted internally and was notorious for kissing up to management. He was technically not qualified for the promotion due to a different background required for our department, but one of the C-suite members liked him a lot. He did have some expertise in other areas, but generally had an unpleasant personality, so many people in the company didn't like him much. Along with 3 new projects, I was assigned a handbook task for the first time. The meeting was in February, so my first handbook would be for that year's Q1. In the meeting, I also asked my colleague, who had managed the project for 4 years, to explain the usual timeline. She said it took 6 months, a time frame agreed upon by management for years, considering the person handling it would also have other important projects. This means, for Q1 data, the printed copies of the handbook need to be ready by 30th of September. The 6-month period includes collecting the analysis from survey managers, and for secondary data, I would have to contact the data owner and do the analysis myself. I also have to work closely with the outsourced company that does the design and printing. I carried out the handbook project smoothly, along my other tasks, and by late July, the only thing left for me to do was to proofread the content. The next procedure required me, my manager, and the designer to review and finalize every page before sending it to the unit head for approval. Printing and delivery takes about 2 to 3 weeks, so we aim to submit the design by mid-August and confirm the final version for printing by the last week of August. However, on the last Friday of July, a whole 2 weeks before our target timeline to send the design to the unit head, this conversation happened. I need you to finalize everything today, because we are sending the design to the unit head on Monday. Next Monday? Why? We have 2 weeks. The unit head wants to see some changes around here, so I thought we could speed up the publication of this handbook to start. I told the unit head we would send the design to her on Monday. You could have discussed with me first. I mean, the proofreading is almost done. I can get it done by today, but we still need to sit down with the designer to finalize and sign off. The appointment is in a week. Can you do it tomorrow? Go ask the designer. It was not normal in our company to come to the office and work on the weekend. And of course, I already had a plan for that weekend. So this was really annoying to me. At least I knew the designer would have no issue moving it to the next day, because he is very cooperative. I can try, but tomorrow is Saturday. I'm not sure if he can make it. And are you sure we want to rush this? Because even if we meet the designer tomorrow, the hard copy will be delivered just 2 weeks earlier than the normal time frame. Is it that significant? Yes. Just go ask the designer now. So I called the designer, and as expected, he had no problem meeting on Saturday. Mr. Manager, the designer is okay to meet tomorrow. Is 10 AM okay with you? The manager had a puzzled look on his face. You also need to be there for the sign-off. I do? Yes, you literally need to sign off on the final version to send to the unit head. It's the normal procedure. To be honest, he didn't need to be there. Aside from following procedure, he had already seen the design a few times and likely wouldn't have contributed much to the meeting. I would have loved for him not to be there anyway, but at that point, I was quite excited to make him come to the office on the weekend, when he obviously didn't realize he also had to be there with the designer. I can't tomorrow. I'm going somewhere until Sunday. Well, if you want to send this to the unit head on Monday, then you have to be here tomorrow. He let out a huge sigh and told me that he would get back to me. About half an hour later, he came up to me with the sourest face ever. 10 AM tomorrow is fine, and walked away. I'm guessing he must have set off someone when he had to change or cancel his weekend plan. The next day, he came in 1 hour late, not smiling at all, and was rude to the designer and me. He was really unhappy to be in the office on that day, but we got it done by 1 PM. The following week, the story of how I made my manager come to work on Saturday was told around the company. Apparently, the plan that he had for the weekend was a group trip with some of his buddies, who also worked in the company, and he had to make new arrangements to get to the place by himself, and arrived late. A lot of people thought it was really funny, including the unit head and some of his buddies, and laughed at the image of him walking into the office on Saturday for some trivial yet necessary work. Nevertheless, the next 2 years that I worked on the handbook, he never promised anyone to have the handbook ready before the 6-month timeline. The third story is called Work Your Hours. So, there I was, working at a mid-sized IT firm as a software developer. My team had always been pretty laid back, focusing on results rather than the exact hours we were glued to our desks. Our projects were delivered on time, our clients were happy, and our team morale was high. That is, until we got a new project manager, Dave. Dave was fresh from a highly regimented corporate background and had ideas about proper workplace management, which basically meant micromanaging everything. He'd schedule unnecessary daily status meetings, demanded we fill out hourly work logs, and insisted that everyone strictly adhere to 9 to 5 office hours with minimal breaks. One day, during one of his infamous efficiency crackdowns, he sent out an email with a new policy that all coding must be done strictly within office hours to ensure collaboration and supervision. This was ridiculous, because creative work like coding often requires flexible hours for maximum productivity. But Dave was adamant, and he ended his email with, "If you think you can find a loophole, think again. Follow the rules, or we'll find someone who will." Challenge accepted, Dave. I decided to comply. Meticulously, I coded strictly between 9 AM and 5 PM. Not a minute earlier, not a second later. If I encountered a bug or was in the middle of a complex piece of code, too bad. 5 PM means the end, no matter what. My teammates, fed up with being treated like school children, followed my lead. The results were predictable. Projects that usually took a couple of weeks started dragging on. Tasks that we could have completed in days, with a bit of overtime, took much longer, because we couldn't capitalize on the burst of late afternoon productivity we were used to. Our workflow was severely disrupted, and the quality of our work started to deteriorate. Dave noticed, of course. He had to answer to upper management for the sudden drop in productivity and lack of commitment, which he knew was a result of our dissatisfaction with his new policy. When upper management called for an impromptu Zoom meeting with the entire team at 4:30 PM to address the ongoing project delays, the entire team logged in to explain our situation. In the meeting, Dave spent half an hour shifting blame and berating individual team members. He didn't even mention the 9 to 5 policy that had led to the whole situation. As the clock ticked towards 5 PM, the tension in the virtual room was palpable, and our team hatched a plan over text. Right on cue, as the clock struck 5 PM, one of the employees spoke up. "In compliance with Dave's 9 to 5 rule, we must log off now." Without missing a beat, every team member clicked "Leave meeting," leaving a stunned Dave to face the executives alone. This abrupt mass exit highlighted the impracticality of Dave's rigid policy, making it clear to the executives that change was necessary. The incident led to another meeting, where Dave was publicly admonished and instructed to abolish his strict rules in favor of more flexibility. And as for me and my team, we made sure to celebrate our little victory with a well-deserved happy hour. After 5 PM, of course. The last story is called Work Your Section. About a decade ago, I worked at a well-known bookstore as a seller of books. There were sections and duties that people were assigned to during shifts, and it changed frequently. It wasn't uncommon for shifts or duties to be swapped. There had been a recent change in management, and a fresh employee, Lexa, received a promotion to be an assistant manager, despite having limited experience and quite the undeserved chip on her shoulder. She was very much a delegator, who spent a lot of time hanging out in the back office. I knew Lexa wasn't liked by a few of the veteran employees for the seemingly undeserved promotion. I was a part-timer going to school, so I wasn't invested in moving up or challenging the store leadership. Didn't make much of a difference to me. She and I got along just fine overall, and usually exchanged pleasantries with bits of conversation. Until one day, I showed up to work, clocked in, and saw my department was kids. I hated working in this section, as it was a Saturday, super packed, and the person who I relieved was terrible at cleaning up whatever section she was assigned to. I called up Lexa and asked her if I could switch with another bookseller who liked working in that section that also just clocked in. Before waiting for an answer, yes, partially my fault, I asked the bookseller if she would be cool switching with me. Lexa, hearing me ask this question, yells over the phone, "No, you were assigned to kids, so go to your section." I replied with a simple, "Okay." I go to my section, and as expected, it's a disaster. Books on the floor, everything is packed, toys strewn about. It was exactly what I anticipated. I got right to work, on recovering messed up shelves, making stacks of the books to return to their proper locations, and picked up toys and trash. I was a man on a mission. Wouldn't you know it? Apparently, there were some shelves and furniture that needed to be moved around. I get a call on my store phone. It's Lexa, and she needs my help with said task. Mind you, there were enough people on the book floor to help, if she also left the back office to get it done. The tone was much different, and she sweetly asked if I can leave my section to go help with the project. Well, the section is a mess. I was diligently working, just to keep up with the unrelenting entropy, due to the Saturday afternoon crowd. Could I have helped? Sure. Did I have an excuse not to? Sure did. I firmly replied, sorry, I'm busy. Nothing more, nothing less. The shift ended, and we went to the break room post-shift. Lexa talks to all of us, and mentions how we need to remember to work as a team. Her demeanor was mildly sheepish, and she avoided making eye contact with me. I sat there, staring right at her with a dumb look on my face, pretending I don't know she's indirectly talking about me. I did find out from a couple of friends she did help out, which required her actually doing some work instead of hiding out. We never had any run-ins after that, and she moved a couple of months later. In any case, I worked my assigned section like she told me to. On the bright side, I cleaned up and organized the section so well that the lead thanked me the next time we worked together. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe. And if you have time, watch another one of my videos. And now, I hope you have a great day. See you soon. Bye bye.